If you have your Bible with you, we're going to end up in Judges chapter 6. If you're a note taker, you can go to our app, follow along with us. Be honored for you to do that. We put notes in every week just to help folks stay focused. I get there's not many areas of our life where we have to focus, for 30 minutes, and it just helps people do that. So feel free to take some notes if you want to. So when our kids were little, we had this book. We all loved it, everybody in our house. Probably read it 1,000 times when I was putting them to bed at night. We have 3, and so I just kept reading it and kept reading. It's called We're Going on a Bear Hunt. Remember that book? Great book, man. If you're not familiar with it, it goes like this. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. And then immediately they run into a series of obstacles. Here, I think, is the first one. It says grass, long wavy grass. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh no, we've got to go through it, right? Swishy, 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 swishy. And then you get to the next obstacle, and it's a river. So we can't go over it. We can't go under it. We're just going to have to swim through it. Splash, 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 splash. Then you come to the next one. Mud, thick, oozy mud. Squelch, squirt, squelch, squirt, squelch, squirt. All 3 of my boys absolutely loved this, man. I mean, they would laugh and they would giggle when I would go through that. And they're like, read it again, read it again. And then you go through a storm, and then you go through the forest, and finally you get to the cave and you go in, tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. And then all of a sudden they see the bear and everybody panics. And they run away from the bear. And they have to go back through all the places that they had gone. Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. Back through the snow. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Back through the forest. Stumble trip, stumble trip, stumble trip. Back through the river. Splish, splash, splish, splash, splish, splash. Back through the mud. Squelch, squirt, squelch, squirt, squelch, squirt. Back through the grass. Swishy, 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 swishy. Then finally they get back to the house and they throw the covers over their head and they say, we're never going on a bear hunt again. Somebody made $1 billion off of that, y'all. It's crazy. But there is this line in the book, believe it or not, that I think is applicable for us today. Every time they come up against an obstacle, they say the same thing. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh no, we got to go through it. Can I just suggest something that I think intuitively almost every single one of us already knows? And that is that there are some things in life that you cannot go over, and you cannot go under, and you cannot go around. There are some obstacles, maybe a wall in your life or a door that you feel like has been shut in your face, and the only way to get through to the other side of it is you have to go through it. We've been in this series called Waymaker, and we've been looking at these amazing stories from the Bible that remind us that God can make a way even when it feels like there is no way. And today is no different. In the Old Testament book of Joshua, there's a story of the Israelites facing a legit obstacle. If you know their story, you know that by this point, for 40 years, they've been wandering around the desert. They've made it through the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army's been defeated. They're out in the wilderness. Finally, it comes time to cross the Jordan River to go into the land that God had promised years earlier that God was giving them. And the very first thing they come to in the promised land is a wall. It's the wall around the city of Jericho. They have problems when they are wandering around the wilderness, and as soon as they get to the promised land, they have even more problems. Kind of sounds like life sometimes, doesn't it? It's like you take 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Like real progress or the ability to move forward, sometimes it just feels like it's right beyond your fingertips, or you get just a little bit of a taste of it, but it's kind of fleeting and it goes away. Here's what we see in Joshua chapter 6, verse 1. It says, now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut because the people were afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go out or in. But the Lord said to Joshua, I have given you Jericho, its king, and all of its strong warriors. It's important to remember, before it's even happened, God is telling Joshua, I've already given you the city of Jericho. And yet here they are with the doors shut and where the walls are huge. Now, archaeologists tell us that when it comes to Jericho, it's likely it was not just one massive wall around the city, although that in and of itself would have been a really big deal, because they've kind of figured out that it was so big you could actually take two chariots side by side and you could drive them along the top of this wall. That's how big that wall was. But they actually think there were two walls. So you had an outer giant wall around the city, and as soon as you get through that, a short distance later, there was another smaller wall. And the idea was if somehow you made it through the army and got over the first wall, you would be immediately confronted with a second wall, and odds are you're not going to make it over two walls in that battle, and you would ultimately be defeated. And on top of that, all their doors are shut tight. So I don't know if you've ever really thought about this or not, but sometimes God's will actually includes a wall. Well, I don't like that. Well, I don't either. We don't like walls very much. Most of the time, if we're honest, when we face an obstacle in our life, our gut reaction is, God, do something. How can I get over it? How do I get under it? How do I go around it? But not these walls, not the walls around Jericho. There was no way to go over them or around them. Maybe you're here today and maybe you've hit a wall. These are tough days. Maybe you've hit a wall financially. Or maybe you've hit a wall in your job. Something's going on vocationally that you can't see your way through. Maybe you've got a relational breakdown in your life. Maybe it's something going on with your health. Maybe you've been in a season where it feels like one loss after another, and it is wreaking havoc in your life. And maybe you don't know how to deal with it. Maybe you're thinking, I don't know how to go. Like I can't go under it, I can't go around it, the doors are shut. I don't know how to move forward in my life. I don't even know what to pray for in this season. It just feels so awful. Well, if that's you, I want to encourage you this morning that wall, that obstacle, whatever it is you're up against in your life, it cannot keep you from what God has already given you. Think about it. God has given you his salvation. He's given you his son. He's given all of us a sense of hope. He's given his spirit to guide us. He's given us a family, a fellowship, a church community. That's what this is. It's not a building. It's a gathering of human beings pulling in the same direction, doing the best we can to support each other. You've got a community of faith to lean into. He's moving and working in your life. You may be up against a wall right now, but I promise you, you are not alone. So the question becomes, well, what do you do when you find yourself up against a wall? When I look at Joshua's story, there are a couple of things that jump out. And the first principle that I think we can learn from the Israelites as they faced their wall was you got to look up to God and you got to be humble. It's about humility. I don't know how you respond to authority in your life, but for most of us, from the time we were little kids, we've really struggled with a sense of authority in our lives. For most of us, our first word wasn't actually mommy and daddy, although that's what they tell their friends. For most of us, our first word was actually mine. And we learned pretty quick how to get our own way by figuring out which parent to approach in the right moment. And if you're a parent, you understand this. And as you mature as a parent, you learn not to react in the moment. So in our house, when my boys would come with a question, my first response was, well, what did your mom say? And then they would go to her and she would be like, well, what did your dad say? And our three boys figured out how to work that system pretty early on. Like if they were hurt, they always went to Beth. But if they were injured, they always came to me. If they were in trouble, they always went to Beth. If they wanted money, they figured out I'm the ATM and they would always approach me. See, here's the deal. You and I have got to learn how to navigate authority. It is interesting. In the Israelites' experience, at this point in their story, they've got Joshua. Joshua was one of the spies that Moses sent into the promised land to kind of check things out. And he was one of only two spies that came back and said, I think we can do this. Like, I've got hope. There's possibility there. It's a land filled with beauty. There's great potential of this new land. Everybody else thought it was impossible. Now, ironically, because of his belief that God had brought them to the right place, he was the one that God chose to lead the Israelites into this brand new land. And so here he is now in this moment. He's the leader of a brand new nation. He doesn't have to answer to anybody in his life. At one point, the scriptures tell us he's planning a military strategy. They've got this giant wall, this city that's been given to them by God, and he's trying to figure out, well, how are we going to go in and take that city? God said it's ours, but I don't know how to get past this wall. So he's feeling the full weight of the mantle of leadership on his shoulders. He's got 1 to 3 million Israelites who are counting on Joshua to figure it out. So as he's navigating all of that, the scriptures tell us that he sees a warrior that he recognized but didn't really know. And he's not sure what to do, and so he goes up to him and he's like, hey, clearly you're a warrior. Paraphrasing. Are you for us or are you for them? And I love this, right? Like Joshua is facing the biggest test of his life. Nobody else on the planet's got the leadership pressure like this guy's got on his shoulders. He sees a warrior and he's like, I need to know, are you for us or are you one more that's gonna be against us? And I love the answer, Joshua chapter 5, verse 14. Neither one. It's hilarious. Neither one. I am the commander of the Lord's army. Why do I find that funny? It's funny because when I think about my own life, and I bet if you think about yours, there are answers to questions we have that we like to say to one another at church. But then there's the reality of how most of us actually live our daily lives, right? Like we understand there's some disparity there. I know some are hearing this for the very first time, but we're in the South. This is church. We understand. In reality, I would argue, most of us, bottom line is we want God to pick sides, right? Like we want God to be for us and we want God to be against everybody else. But yet in this story, when God shows up, he does not come to take sides. He actually comes to take over the entire situation. It says, neither one. I am the commander of the Lord's army. And at this, Joshua fell to his face to the ground in reverence. I am at your command, Joshua said. What do you want your servant to do? See, Joshua was one of those rare leaders who not only had authority, but he knew how to be under authority. And when Joshua realized who it is that he's actually talking to, not some random dude that put on armor that day and thought, I'll just go throw myself in the scuffle. He fell down on his face and humbled himself. He understood that in that moment, his job was to be a servant. And my friends, I would remind you that God is not here to take sides. His objective is actually to take over your heart and my heart, your soul, your life and my life. He is not interested in part of it. And listen, I get how we play games all the time. Some of us were like, God, you can have full access to every relationship in my life, but I'm gonna hang on to this one because I'd like to keep control over it, right? Or God, I'll give you this part of my life, but I'm gonna hang on to this part. Or you can have this situation that I'm up against. And by the way, it'd be really cool if you could go ahead and fix that situation sooner than later because it's driving me crazy, but I'm gonna hang on to and try to control all these other situations. That's not how this works if you're trying to follow in the footsteps of God. So Joshua humbled himself. He's like, look, okay, I get it. You're in charge. What do you want me to do? I think that's a pretty good first step. If you're up against a wall in your life or there's some obstacle that you can't seem to find your way over or around or under, maybe the first place to start is by simply acknowledging who is actually in charge. Why is this important? Well, think about it. Think about the time. Think about the energy, just the sheer brain power. Think about all the plotting, all the planning, the anxiety, the loss of sleep. We could actually save ourselves if we simply did this. Here it is. Surrender Surrender. Our greatest spiritual victory will often come from our deepest point of surrender. You gotta let go of that thing that you are trying to control the most in your life. And by let go, I don't mean just shove it off to God because God is some kind of cosmic genie and let God figure it out and do it. I mean, you gotta do your part. It's a partnership that you and I are in with God, but you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, assuming that everything's up to you. Surrender is one of the tenets of our faith. It's a core, it's a bedrock. That there's an authority out there that is far greater than me. Hello, recovery people. You know that better than anybody on this planet. Surrender is powerful when we do it. That's what we see Joshua do. He's got all these plans, he's got all these strategies, and he lays them before God and says, hey, I am in your command. Sometimes I think we want God to bless what we're already doing. That'd be a lot more fun, wouldn't it? We want him to take sides in our heart. And I think this is a good reminder that while God absolutely loves us, he is also in charge. And we will achieve our greatest victories when we align our goals with his. There's one thing I know for sure, is that God who is standing beside you right now is way bigger than that obstacle standing in front of you. Because listen, God is bigger than the headlines, every single one of them. God is bigger than whatever sorrow you're facing right now. God is bigger than my ego. God is bigger than what you've been dreaming about. And God is bigger than what you've been dreading the most in your life. God is bigger than every single one of our problems. He's bigger than our talents. He's bigger than all we've done or all we hope to do. He is bigger than Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and TikTok combined, y'all. He is bigger than the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, and the NHL. He's bigger than what you've lost. He's bigger than what keeps you awake at night that you're afraid of. He is bigger than what it is that you're facing. He's bigger than what happened to you in your past. He is bigger than what's coming at you around the corner. He's bigger than all the lies that you and I tell ourselves. He's bigger than all the hype. He's bigger than the economy. He's bigger than whatever's coming in the future. He has authority over everything that you and I might be under, because he is God. We are not God. God is God. I would think with that amount of effort, we could get a little more enthusiasm, right? And so when you come up against an obstacle or when you find yourself facing a wall, when you're not sure, you got to look back and you got to acknowledge, I'm not in this thing on my own. I am under God's authority. And sometimes the first step is just saying, God, I trust you with the thing that I'm trying to control the most. Here's another thought for when you're facing a wall. Just go with what you know. We've been saying that a lot lately. Just go with what you know. One of the touch points in my life is when I get something and it comes in a box, and on the outside of the box it says, some assembly required. Believe it or not, I'm a fairly mechanical guy. Worked in bike shops, I get it. But I'm not a big instruction guy. I'm the fool that will take a box of 1,000 pieces, throw it out on the floor, and just think, I can make it work. The problem is, when you live your life that way and you don't follow the actual instructions, it can wreak havoc. Sometimes when it comes to the walls in our lives, we wish God would give us some specific assembly instructions, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever had that moment I have where I'm like, God, could you at least give me a picture? Like, I don't even need, just give me a picture, just some insight. Show us what to do. Do I marry this guy? Do I not marry this guy? Do I marry this girl? Do I not marry this girl? Should I take that job or should I run away from it? Should I actually spend money on whatever this thing is right now? Should we move? Should we not move? Would a fresh start be good? Would it not be good? God, just tell me what to do. Give me some sense of direction. What's interesting about this story is that the Israelites did get some pretty specific direction from God, but it did not make their task any easier. God revealed his will, absolutely. They got specific instructions, but those instructions were very confusing, which you're gonna see in just a second, because they could not see the whole plan. So for the sake of time, let me just kind of tell you you can read about it in Judges. here's what the directive was. God basically says, Joshua, I know you got all these plans, and I know you've got this really cool military strategy, but here's what I actually want you to do. I want you to gather up all the people, so 1 to 3 million Israelites, and I want you to go and walk around the entire city of Jericho once. In essence, what he's saying is, Joshua, I want you to go have a parade, because that's what it was. I'm just gonna go walk around the city. And then the next day, I want you to walk around the city again. I know, Joshua, but just trust me, just walk around the city again. So have parade number 2. Day 3, walk around the city again. And they were to do that every day for 6 days. Then on the 7th day, that's where it got wild. On the 7th day, they were to walk around the city not once, but 7 times, here it is, in silence. That is not a grand military strategy. But God tells them it will be very disconcerting for the people of Jericho. And then at the end of the 7th lap, when you hear the ram's horn blow, I want everybody to shout. So listen, I know we're very complicated, very highly intelligent people, but let that soak for a second. The biggest enemy that you've ever faced in your life is standing in front of you. You got no weapons. You got no infrastructure about how this thing's gonna go. You are literally gonna gather everybody up, men, women, children, elderly, young, all of it, and you're just gonna march around the outside of a city 7 times. And when you hear the ram's horn, that's time to go, but you're not gonna go, you're just gonna yell as loud as you can. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's okay to admit. It's crazy. The Bible's full of those kinds of stories. But here's what we read, Joshua chapter 6, verse 20. When the people heard the sound of the ram's horns, they shouted as loud as they could. Here it is. Suddenly, the walls of Jericho collapsed, and the Israelites charged straight into the town and captured it. Those same archaeologists that determined that there were 2 walls also found something interesting, that the walls appear to have collapsed to the outside toward the Israelites. Now you would think in a battle, if you're going in as the opposing army, you would have to push your way through the walls. So when they came back and visited the ruins, the walls would be facing inside the city, but that's not the case. They were actually pushing toward the outside. So what does that mean? What that means is they trusted God and did exactly what they were asked to do, and it that brought the victory, because there were no Israelites on the inside of the wall. It had to be God through his power and his presence and his desire for victory that pushed those insurmountable walls over. And he did it his way on his timetable. They got really clear direction, but it still took faith, because it always takes faith. Every wall, every challenge, everything that you're up against right now, it will always, every time, require faith. It won't be easy. It won't always line up the way you want it to. There are gonna be moments where things happen that we did not see coming. There'll be moments where we struggle and we'll face things we don't understand, and we're gonna feel under-resourced, and the challenge is gonna feel almost overwhelming. That's okay. The story reminds us that God is with us. God is with us. God is guiding us. He's not asleep at the wheel. God is working. God is moving. God's got a plan for your life. There's a strategy at play. He's big enough to handle whatever you and I are facing in this moment. He does have a timetable, and it may not always be our timetable. He's got a goal, and it's not to harm us. It's not me saying it. That's what his scriptures tell us. He's growing us, he's shaping us, he's bringing us closer to him. These moments in the wilderness, I know they may be scary, and it may feel like it's never gonna end, but it does not have to get the best of you. So my prayer for all of us is simple. I just pray you won't be defeated in this moment. I pray that you'll find a renewed sense of God's grace in your life. I pray that you'll find a new focus, that you won't be so distracted by the size of the wall or the magnitude of the obstacle or just the sheer fear and anxiety that it brings, knowing you got to deal with it. I pray that we'll rediscover our passion, that we'll stay focused not on what may or may not happen in the future, but that we'll take a step of faith, that we'll cling to the hope that we have in Jesus, that we'll look for ways to be a part of the work that God is doing, not only in our own lives and the lives of those we love, but in the greater community around us. And I pray that at the very least, if we can't do any of the other stuff, that we'll have the courage, at least for this day, to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Because here's what I believe. And I need you to hear me on this. There is nothing special about yours truly. There's nothing different about yours truly than you. I've had training. I've studied. I've been walking as best I can in the footsteps of Jesus for a long time. But I'm really just one beggar trying to tell another beggar where to find bread. This I believe with all of who I am, that with God, nothing is impossible. And I mean with God, nothing is impossible. And if you play that out and you believe that nothing is impossible, no mountain's too high, no wall is too great, it may not happen when I want it to happen, it may not turn out the way I want it to turn out, it may go away that I didn't see coming a million miles away, but I know that with God, nothing is impossible, then that means anything is possible, right? If nothing's impossible, then anything's possible. If nothing's impossible, then you can get free from your addiction. If nothing is impossible, then you can pick up the remains after a divorce and you can move forward. It doesn't have to have the last say in your life. If nothing is impossible, then you can fight against cancer. You can keep putting one foot in front of the other. You can go all the way to the end. If nothing is impossible and anything's possible, then that means you can restore your relationship with your son or daughter that you hadn't talked to in a long time. You can find another job. You can wake up every day and have a sense of hope. You don't have to be defeated. You don't have to give up. You're a lot stronger than you think you are, not because of who you are, but because of who he is. You got what you need, y'all. So this week, if you don't hear anything else I say, cling to this. Nothing is impossible. That means anything is possible. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.